Taking the war to the streets, the battle for Kyiv continues as Russian forces bear down on the Ukrainian capital. Some shelling sliced through a Kyiv apartment building as local residents were left to count the cost and inspect the damage. With Russian forces disabling CCTV cameras as they move through the vast geographical region, Russia's actual control in Ukraine remains unclear. Russian leader Vladimir Putin called on Friday for the Ukrainian army to overthrow the country's leadership and has offered talks with Ukraine, with the caveat that Ukraine would have to demilitarise, while his Ukrainian counterpart called for further support from Europe.
Europe has enough powers to stop this aggression. What we are waiting from European countries for is the cessation of visas for Russians, disconnection from SWIFT, full isolation of Russia, withdrawal of ambassadors, oil embargo, closure of the airspace. Today everything should be on the table because it's about the threat to us, all of us, to the entirety of Europe.
Meanwhile, pro-Ukrainian protesters gathered outside an emergency NATO meeting as the bloc called once again for Russia to cease its invasion.
Moscow bears sole responsibility for the deliberate, cold-blooded and long-planned invasion. We condemn Russia's aggressions in the strongest possible terms and call on Russia to immediately cease its military action.
As war rages, the UN Refugee Agency says more than 50,000 Ukrainian refugees have fled their country in less than 48 hours, a majority to Poland and Moldova, with many more expected to flee to neighbouring countries in the coming days. Rob O'Hanrahan, Virgin Media News.
Well, hundreds have gathered outside the Russian embassy in Dublin this evening to protest over the country's military offensive in Ukraine. Our reporter Paul Quinn is there. So, Paul, this large crowd is made up of Ukrainians living in this country, of Irish people, but also of Russians living here.
Yeah, that's right, Colette. And even in the last couple of minutes, people have been coming up here to the gates of the Russian embassy, leaving their signs on the gate, signs saying hands off Ukraine, stop the war, Russians don't be silent, and stop the Russian invasion. And at one stage today, it's estimated around 350 people were actually here today. They were lining both sides of the street outside the embassy, the guards having to close off the road at one stage. Quite emotional scenes at times, a lot of chanting saying stop the war, Putin out of Ukraine, calling for immediate ceasefires, and then the crowds would burst into song, usually the national anthem. There's a very tight-knit Ukrainian community here in Ireland. It's been a very difficult time for them. We've been speaking to people, one man who fought on the front line a number of years back, also a woman who was speaking to her mother this morning, the town, the village that they live in, coming under heavy shelling this morning, as she hasn't been able to hear from her mother since. We have been speaking to some of those Ukrainians to see how they're feeling.
Nobody ran away because my brothers now got Kalashnikovs and they will stand for Ukraine. And we are here to show all the world we are very peaceful people. But if Putin start kill us, we will answer.
I was crying for 5 days, even before it was officially announced, because I could see with the amount of lies that it was coming.
We're up from Cork. We're here to support Ukraine. They need military and political support, so we're just here to help out. We're doing what we can. We can't go back to Ukraine, so we're just doing what we can.
We all want to go. We all want to go, but for the moment, flights are cancelled.
Now, it's not just Ukrainian flags that are flying here outside the Russian embassy today. Flags from Georgia, from Moldova, from Poland, and indeed Irish flags. And we have been speaking to people from some of those countries as well who came today to show their solidarity with the people of Ukraine.
Now, Moldova is also under threat, considering the fact that it is very close to Ukraine, and we have a separatist Russian region which has Russian troops there. And we feel a threat, and we want to ask the Irish government to take more serious measures and to support Ukraine humanitarily, financially, and militarily as well.
Russia doesn't equal Putin, and not all Russians approve, and there is more of us who don't than Russian media leads the world to believe. I'm here to show solidarity with people in front of whom I feel an incredible sense of shame and guilt. And I hope that this will be over soon, and I just hope that Ukraine will come out of it stronger and more free, and yeah, I couldn't not be here.
Now, it has to be said, today's protest has gone off very peacefully. At one stage, a car did try an attempt to get through the gates of the Russian embassy. A very small number of people kicking the car, throwing the Ukrainian flag over before the car drove off. It wasn't able to enter the embassy. The people we've been speaking to today say that while sanctions from the big world leaders are welcome, simply it doesn't go far enough, and that Ukraine needs military help as well and boots on the ground. Demonstrations like this outside the Russian embassy are planned for the coming days as well. Colette.
Well, thanks very much for that.